Apple Mountain News this morning, transportation crews begin to make their final rounds to remove flood debris here in our region. And even though the deadline to apply for disaster loans has passed, the disaster recovery centers remain open to help those affected by floodwaters.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News this morning.
Good morning to you. It is Wednesday. It's almost 5 o'clock here. I'm Dakota Makris. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Let's head over to Brandon for a look at our forecast this morning. Brandon, I really didn't get a chance this morning to even feel the temperature outside. I was too busy focused on my car to come here. So.
I understand. It was a little bit cooler this morning because the skies did clear out briefly, but the thing that made its triumphant return, I guess you could call it this morning, was the fog.
Oh, yeah.
It was pretty dense all the way into work this morning, so again, just be careful out there. Give yourself plenty of time as you're making your way around. Still cloudy, still dreary out there as well. Satellite radar loop for the last 6 hours. Green trying to show up, and I mentioned that in my forecast discussion there on the website this morning, and I'm going to mention it right here. I do believe we could see some sprinkles. Models were hinting at that yesterday, especially in those western counties, but they could extend further east. I'll track those out for you in a little bit. Anything less than 5 miles on this map is really dense fog, so again, be extra careful out there this morning. I can tell you from Letcher County through parts of Knott and Perry counties, it was rough. Temperatures a little bit cooler than they have been, 40s and 50s instead of 50s and 60s out there this morning. It looks like 44 in Clintwood is the cool spot, and 52, actually 53 in Jackson is the warm spot. 52 in Jacksboro, right behind them there. Almost that was the one, but again, a lot of upper 40s and low 50s. So a little extra coffee out there this morning on the coffee meter. Your out the door forecast. Spotty rain chances, especially early. I do believe as we get deeper into the day, though, those will start to clear a little bit. Dakota?
All right, Brandon, thank you. Well, transportation crews will make their final rounds to remove flood debris during the next couple of weeks. Jeremy Toms talked with a member of a long-term recovery team who says many in the region still have not been able to clear off their property.
Kentucky Transportation Cabinet crews began to clean up eastern Kentucky in August. But months later, Jamie Mullins-Smith says people's debris still sits on their property in piles.
Debris removal has been a barrier. A lot of times when the initial flooding takes place, you want to clean up as fast as possible.
That cleanup wasn't efficient because Mullins-Smith says some didn't know what to do with their debris.
The information didn't make it out to our survivors. They didn't have vehicles, there were no roads, there were a lot of communication.
So she says they just opened their doors and started cleaning, but they eventually hit a roadblock.
We run into a lot of our survivors who live across a creek. So if they move that debris across the creek, it's essentially in the roadway and creating a hazardous situation. Same way if they live over a hill. Once they move that debris up to where those trucks could reach over and get it, it just becomes a hazardous situation.
KYTC asked residents to put their debris onto right-of-way by November 1st for pickup. But she's spoken with dozens in Breathitt County alone who just can't manage it. With 2 weeks left until the county's dump site closes, she's asking volunteers to step in and help people clear their properties.
Just working together, communicating clearly, and having a collaborative effort is what's going to get us through this.
In Breathitt County, Jeremy Toms, WKYT.
Officials are asking potential volunteers to reach out to their Breathitt County Disaster Response 2022 Facebook page. Well, the Housing Development Alliance received a $50,000 donation from the Eastman Foundation in Kingsport, Tennessee, to build a new home for an Eastern Kentucky flood survivor. Because HDA does not receive funding for flood relief and recovery, the organization supports survivors through the generosity of donors. The Eastman Foundation also gave money to the Foundation for Appalachian Kentucky and the Appalachia Service Project. Well, the deadline to apply for FEMA and SBA aid was last Friday, but the disaster recovery centers are still open with FEMA and Kentucky Emergency Management Mitigation Specialists and the Small Business Administration. Employees from the various organizations are on site able to help.
We just want to make sure that people understand that the disaster recovery centers are going to be open. We are staffed and ready to help those applicants, those SBA applicants, come and speak about their application. We can pull those forms up and go line by line to identify any mistakes if if you had a denial letter.
The disaster recovery centers are located in Breathitt, Perry, Pike, Letcher, and Knott counties. Multi-agency resource centers are located in Clay and Floyd counties. November is here, which means temperatures will likely start dropping again. Many families are beginning to switch the thermostat over to heat to begin warming their homes for the winter season. But the price for staying warm can be expensive. Executive Director of LKLP Community Action Agency, Ricky Baker, says the organization is offering something to help out.
The LIHEAT program is essential to helping people with that basic heating cost to help subsidize that. It won't pay for the entire heating season, but it helps subsidize that so they have available income to spend on other needs such as medicine, food, anything else that they may need. So it is very critical.
Families must meet specific income requirements to get aid from the Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program. A West Virginia nonprofit group received $100,000 in grants for monkeypox vaccinations and education. The community education group will develop and distribute materials, offer grants, and host meetings aimed at reducing cultural stigmas and barriers related to the virus for LGBTQ+ people. This will happen in 13 Appalachian states, including Kentucky, Tennessee, Virginia, and West Virginia. The group will create digital resource guides for more than 300 health departments, rural health care associations, and LGBTQ groups. Kentucky's jobless rate fell in 119 counties between September 2021 and September 2022. Hancock County was the only one to see an increase. In our region, Magoffin County continues to lead with an unemployment rate of 8.9%, followed by Martin at 7.3% and Breathitt at 7%. The county unemployment rates are not seasonally adjusted. Well, thank you so much for getting your Wednesday morning started with us here on Mountain News this morning. When we come back, parts of Europe experience some high autumn temperatures for the month of October, breaking records in the process. That's on the way.
On the flip side of that coin, we were cool for October here. Another dreary day is ahead, and we're adding in some fog, as we mentioned earlier this morning. But never fear, sunshine is near. I'll tell you when, about 3 minutes.